A brand new MLS playoff format just dropped. Is a UEFA and Concacaf team up on the way? And a brand new battleground for the soccer war has shown itself. That and more on Friday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. Hope you are doing well today. Thank you for joining. My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy. And to my side, as always, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling?
I'm good. It's Friday. We made it. We're here. We're ready to talk about wild soccer stories because, man, it's a gift that just keeps on giving, Rob. This world of soccer of ours, whether it's in the United States or maybe internationally, there's always something fun to talk about. I see that the Ultras are in the building.
Definitely.
First through the door, Armando. Let's all give it up for Armando being first through the door today. He gets a ribbon. A ding, a clang. I don't know exactly what we give away. Oh, we get a clang. All right, a quick clang. Man, that was a quickie. That clang was a quick clang. All right,
nothing like a quick clang in the morning.
Vanderlingen is in here. Reese is in here. I see. Let's see, other people. Jeff is in here. Dwayne is in here. Shout out to Rain. Ronald, Tim, Kate is in the building. Nathan is here. John Stark is here. I'm leaving this because this is we got proper clang material here. A big hard clang for our guy, Mr. Bob, out the door on a Friday. 10 gifted memberships. Be like Mr. Bob. He's the best. Be like a Hick in Time who gave away 5. Be like Dwayne who gave away 5. And then a double hard clang, just like Mr. Bob for Tulsa Mario, who gave away 10. Man.
You got to turn that up to 11 with all that clanging.
It's a lot of clanging. It's a clang fest. There's another rhyming thing in there I just don't want to go to. Somebody will figure out where my brain went just now.
Did you just go to a dangerous place in your mind?
I did. I went to a dangerous place in my mind.
Hey, we want to keep our monetary status here, so I'm glad you edited yourself. Your radio brain overtook your wandering brain there.
Are we PG-13 or are we R? That's the big question. I'd
say we go 13 here for the most part.
Are we a hard 13 or are we a soft 13?
It depends on the day. Depends how steamed up you are, Jason.
Okay, all right. It's a clang. That's what it is. Figure it out. It's a clang. Guys are the best. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Be like everybody else who gave away gift memberships and give away a gift membership, or just become a member yourself on your own, which costs you a couple bucks a month, or subscribe to the program. That's a pretty easy thing to do. You click that button, that little bell, and bang, you're subscribed. We're on our journey to 10,000. And I'll tell you guys, pull back the curtain here. YouTube don't make it easy on a little old soccer show like Morning Kick Around. Okay. They don't make it easy on us. The algorithm is are we PG-13? Algorithm is a bitch, you guys. The algorithm is a bitch. We got to try to get through. And look, we don't want to be chasing stuff. We want to make good quality content about the things you care about as American soccer fans. So we are, we're always in this place, Rob and I, with a little help from Jenny and some other people. Like, do we need to figure out what's going to be the most viral? Do we have to, what do we need to say something, over the top and controversial? Do we need to find different topics than what we talk about? And because, the algorithm isn't always going to deliver a show focused on mostly lower division soccer in America to soccer fans. So we need you to help spread the word. This is what I'm trying to get to. If you can share the show with somebody, tell somebody. I know lots of you are wearing the shirt and are out in public with your Morning Kick Around gear. Thank you very much for that. By the way, speaking of Morning Kick Around gear, Fourth Wall is the place to go for our Morning Kick Around shop. You can find it on the YouTube channel. I think we're linked up again. We're all good to go. That was a whole thing Rob went through. We appreciate that, Rob. We are in the process, Rob and I, of conceiving a new line of gear. And yes, there will be some clang shirts, and there will be some other things in there. DotTheMap and maybe Longbush gets a mention. I don't know.
It's the newest and most trendy neighborhood in New York, Longbush. Don't you know?
It's the borough everybody wants to live in, Longbush. We are working on some of those, and obviously we have jerseys there. Shout out to Danny who's mentioning the jersey. We do have good jerseys, and there are a couple of. I got a box next to me. It's got a couple of jerseys in it. Put your name on. Well, I can't actually put your name on, but buy one and we'll ship it to you, and you can wear it proudly, and be a Morning Kick Around supporter from the get. That's it. That's my pitch.
And speaking of memberships, we have our longest and most dedicated MK Ultras donating memberships, and it's been 2 weeks since we've done it. So if you're new to the show, new to an MK Ultra membership, at the end of the live show on Friday, we do something called DotTheMap, where we put our members' locations on the map, and we've got it pretty filled in now after doing it for about a year and a half now. There's a few hundred dots scattered across the United States on theme with all the dots of new teams coming on. We put dots of our membership and see where everyone's at and kind of represent yourself. So if you've just accepted one of these gift memberships here today, or if you're new over the last 2 weeks or so, get your location and your favorite teams into the chat here today. Or if you're in the Discord already, put it in the DotTheMap thread, and we will get that map dotted at the end of the show today. So stick with us for that. It's a lot of fun. We get to learn where everyone's at, who they support, and where everyone's listening from that are their most dedicated listeners and channel members. That's at the end of the show. But before then, we got tons of great stuff. We have a guest from the APSL to kind of fill us in on one of those emerging leagues at that fourth tier, trying to bridge the amateur to professional gap. We also have UEFA and Concacaf possibly teaming up to try to overthrow President Infantino. We have the closest and most direct battleground between MLS Next Pro and the USL League expansion. We're going to start off with the latest and greatest MLS format news coming up with you. So hit the button, subscribe, donate if you can. But let's go. Morning Kick Around here on a Friday. It's time. Let's go. Sometimes I feel like the Major League Soccer Competition Committee is a big fan of Pokemon. They are trying to catch all the formats in the league's history. This time, a new playoff format just dropped, courtesy Chris Ivy from 615 Soccer's reporting that Major League Soccer is planning a significant overhaul of the playoff format.
Sorry, Rob. Sorry. We got our wires crossed this morning. I was saying that Chris Ivy created a graphic that tries to explain the format as originally reported, the details of the format by Pablo Maurer at The Guardian.
Okay, here we go.
Pablo Maurer at The Guardian is the one who's got the story. Shout out to my guy, Pablo. Great guy, wonderful reporter. Obviously, read everything that Pablo writes. You probably already are. Chris Ivy from 615soccer.com, which covers all the stories you need in Nashville in soccer, in particularly Nashville SC, put this together to to try to illustrate exactly what this is. I'm seeing, let's go to the comments, Rob. Angus says it's a nightmare. He says it's a nightmare. Danny says, well, at least it's not overly complex. Chris Sal is saying it's an Italian Serie C type of format. I'm not familiar, but I trust Chris. I saw this come up in the Discord as well. And that's because they have multiple leagues that feed into promotion to Serie B. With Serie B is a standard second division in Italy. You probably know that league because Venezia has been in there. So what is this format, Rob? Do you have the details in front of you that you can read out loud, or would you like me to do those for you?
Well, thank you for clarifying. And when you see the visual of it, this seems like a madness. And I'll admit, when I was reading the story in The Guardian per Pablo, like you said, my eyes went a little glazy after getting a few sentences in it. But essentially, they're saying that 20 teams get into this thing. And then there's going to be only a few qualifiers from that to make then a 14-team tournament. And then at some point it narrows down to a double elimination, and then the highest seeds are through that and only have to play single elimination. Every single round has a different kind of format here. It's kind of crazy.
It is interesting. Now, there are a couple things that are not included. Number one, whether or not this is one-off games, right? Because right now we have a best-of-3 series, and it's all weird. Now, I'm going to read the way that Pablo writes it because it's his original reporting, and this is the way he explains it. The top 8 teams in the combined table would play in a double elimination round.
Boom.
A move that seems aimed at further incentivizing the league's regular season matches. So, as you can see in Chris Ivy's illustration here, 1 versus 8, 4 versus 5, 3 versus 6, and 2 versus 7. Okay, those are the top 8 teams in the combined table. They're going to split into divisions. That's another knock on, and we've already talked about divisions a bit. They're going to split into divisions, apparently. Divisions will give you you'll be in the top, I think in the top 12. You're guaranteed to be in the top 12 if you're a division winner, regardless of your place in the combined table, which gets a little bit even more complicated, right? But those top 8 teams, if you lose your top 8 game, you go into the loser side of the bracket. If you win your top 8 game, you go straight to the quarterfinal, right? So let's say the number 1 seed beats the number 8 seed. Number 1 seed goes to where it says quarterfinals, which is that 4th column over there, right? The 8 seed will drop down into where it's where that line is between the 3rd and the 4th, right? Okay. Now, you can leave them. That happens simultaneously. You can leave them aside for now. You have the play-in round, one-off games between the teams ranked from 13 down to 20, right? Those teams move into the wild card round, where they will face the winners of those play-in games will face the winner or face the teams ranked 9 through 12 in the combined table. All right. That, by the way, is reseeding after every round. So it's not just a straight bracket. Yeah. Well, no, you say, of course. MLS hasn't done that before. MLS has done plenty of formats where there's no reseeding. It's just a straight bracket. And you're like, whoa, that's a really tough draw. So while there will be reseeding after each round. So after the wild card round, if you advance in the wild card round, again, reseeded, you get into that second round. That's where the losers from the top 8 will join whoever has made it that far. Okay? Got it?
Oh,
then
yeah.
Those winners will go to the quarterfinal round with the teams that have already won their top 8 matches. So now we've got 4 quarterfinal rounds. And it actually is explained in some other places. Basically, the higher up the table you are, the fewer games it takes to win the title. And the more likely you are to have home games, right? Which is obviously a massive incentive. So, and of course, if you finish top 8, you can lose a playoff game and still get a chance to win. And here's the problem. And I'm seeing the chat, guys. I see you. I understand. Again, Chris is saying it's a comical disaster. American Groundhopper. It's a cluster. I will say nothing more. Let's see. What else? I guess DC United will finally make the playoffs. That's good.
Because we should say that with caveats, if you're not tuned in, this all has to do with MLS has always tried to tweak with the playoff format, but that has largely had to do with the way the fall is with international calendar and competing with NFL and this and that and the other. So this is in reference to MLS changing formats to the fall through the spring. Try to do this in May, but also there's the complication of going to a 5-division format and how so they'll play in divisions, and then the top finishers, apparently the top 20 finishers through the 5-division format will then get seeded into this format that you're seeing here. Right. And Jason, I'm a fan of simplicity, and I know they're trying to get more games and they're trying to add some threat and some danger, but this is a lot. You can't you got to know where you're going when you're getting to the playoffs.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It is convoluted. It's hard to parse looking at it. Now, as it plays out, I think it will be easier to understand, but that's a really hard thing to do. And I will direct everybody to what Paul Tenorio wrote at the Athletic, in the aftermath of Pablo's piece. Paul used his space at the Athletic to write a column, essentially, an opinion piece on this. He says, the Athletic knew some things were coming. They reported about that last year on a new postseason structure. Obviously, Pablo got the details. And they've confirmed that MLS is finalizing this format. Paul Tenorio and the Athletic, which is a go-to place for news on MLS.
Of course.
he makes the point, right? That, and I do agree with him on this. MLS is caught between a rock and a hard place. Now, you do not have to extend grace to MLS if you do not want to. And I know a lot of our listeners won't. They'll just be like, MLS always screws it up. MLS is too ridiculous from the get. MLS, whatever, right? Again, the idea is MLS made their bed here, and it's messy as hell, and they're just trying to figure it out now. And you can be critical of MLS, but I think you have to go back really far to kind of begin where that criticism is fair. At this point, with the difficult situation, that is, they've got 30 teams. You're not closing down teams to make the league simpler. So there's 20, like a lot of big leagues. You're not doing that. You're not shutting teams down. There's really no logical idea of splitting the league in half. We have a new segment idea that I want to get to called "Is This True?" because I saw a post on Blue Sky that made an argument about whether MLS could just lock everything down if they were smart enough to split their leagues and do pro rel internally and all these things. That is clearly not on the table, right? So just as a practical thought, you can't really consider pro rel. I know that's the idea people will jump to. Just do pro rel. That's how you create jeopardy. That's how you make the regular season matter. Just do pro rel. It's not happening, right? So if we just put that to the side, if we allow ourselves to get past that, to calm down a bit about pro rel and think about where MLS is with this. As Paul writes, MLS has to try to figure out how to make the regular season matter more. And I understand that the number 20 in a 30-team league feels like it means the regular season won't matter. Yeah. But I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. You're finishing 20th. You're on the road in a playoff game. You lose one time, you're done, you're cooked. There's the idea that finishing 20th is okay, even if it gives you a quote unquote chance at the playoffs. I don't think so. Now, look, obviously a 20th ranked team, a 20th place team could go on some weird run and win MLS Cup. And that, of course, would not be a great look for MLS. It wouldn't. You gave a 20th place team a chance to win a championship and they went on a run. But I'm telling you that more often, I don't know what the percentages are here because I'm crunching those numbers. But I bet you the data people would tell you the chances of a 20th place team winning the league title with this format are infinitesimal, like tiny. So you're going to have lots of teams that might make the playoffs and look at their situation and go, that's not good enough, right? Like we're not comfortable just making the playoffs. There's this idea that this is a safety net that's going to mean clubs don't push harder. And I don't know that that's really the case anymore. And obviously this is a spectrum. Like Liga MX will fire coaches after a bad 3-game stretch. You know, the stakes in a lot of leagues are extremely high and coaches are getting fired all the time. And we think of that as accountability. I don't know that MLS is ever going to be Liga MX. I don't know if I want it to be. But I do think that there is a higher level of demand on most clubs. There will always be also rans. There will always be clubs that don't spend. There will all be clubs that are okay with mediocrity. That's just a fact. But I think most clubs want to achieve. And I do think that the advantages here, again, this is threading a needle when you are trying to make the regular season matter more while being boxed in by the size of your league, no pro rel, and the fact that you can't do single table. You just can't. That's the size of the league problem as well. You can't do a single, obviously, Rob, that'd be the simplest answer. Just do a single table, do a round robin, everybody plays everybody, and then boom, you have a champion. That's too many games. Top 12. Okay, again, here's the problem. If you do top 12 or top 8, which to me is like, that's kind of the ideal number. You go straight to the quarterfinals, you play 3 rounds, you got a champion. It's so intense. It's so on fire. It's so desperate to get in the play. You're going to have teams because of the size of the league. And I know you could do divisions, but then you're like a division winner or a second place team in a division gets in when a team with a better record from another division doesn't. This is an NFL problem. I don't think that soccer fans would like that. Yes, I said it, Riverside Grove. They boxed themselves in. I have already acknowledged that. Okay?
I pressed it the first time. Jenny's throwing fuel on the fire there.
I've already acknowledged that they boxed themselves in. Okay. You can throw the whole thing out the window if you want. That's your choice. Throw it all out the window. MLS sucks. MLS is terrible. MLS built this box. Toss it all out the window. Do that. Doesn't change the reality that the box is here and that MLS is not going to shut down voluntarily. And obviously, they're not going to upend every single thing they've ever done, which means like what? I don't know. Canceling playoffs? Again, Pro-Rel is not a realistic idea for them. They're not going to do it. Right? Again, you don't have to like this, but I do think this might be as close to the best case scenario if you're not going to, because again, going back to the idea of top 12, top 8, some number, simple knockout round style format. There are too many dead rubber games towards the back half of the season in that format. There are just too many teams who are already cooked. Again, you have no jeopardy at the bottom of the table. I know if we only had Pro-Rel, but we don't. So if you don't have jeopardy at the bottom of the table, how do you make sure everybody's playing for something? So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to create tranches. And actually, Paul Tenorio did a great job of explaining this. Top 8, Champions League. Second group, Europa League. Third group, Conference League. Right? And think about the way that the Champions League used to work, where if you finished third in your group, you dropped down to the Europa League. Remember how that was the case, Rob?
Oh, yeah.
They don't do that anymore. We've gone to a new format. But that in the old days, you could go from the Champions League to the Europa League. That's what this is. This is essentially replicating that idea. The top 8 are the best teams. The top 8 that finish in the regular season, they deserve an advantage. Their advantage is they get to play in that round, and if they lose, they're not out. That's one of their advantages. Obviously, top 4 get home field advantage in that round and win and go straight to the quarterfinals. That's massive, right? So then if you lose, you drop down to the quote-unquote Europa League. Now you're playing the teams that have come out of that Conference League section, right? Again, limiting the note, like the higher you are on the table, the fewer games you need to win the championship, which means your chances are better. So I understand that this is uncomfortable. And I argued today in my newsletter that MLS is addicted to change. One of the problems MLS has is they created this world by necessity in their minds that they have to be nimble, they have to change, they have to be willing to change the rules, change the format, do everything else. And we're adding teams all the time, and everything is about change. And it doesn't let fans get accustomed to anything. Like they screwed up college football for me, and that is done. Like I might watch a game or two, but it's not the same as it used to be. I don't know what's going on with the bowl system or anything. Okay, Rob, we spent a lot of time on this. I knew it was going to get people fired up. It got me fired up. I think, again, they did the best they could considering the situation. The problem MLS has is there's no way they haven't been able to establish traditions. There's a question of whether or not they ever can, or if they are too addicted to the change. 20 teams on the face of it, and I agree with this, looks ridiculous. So even if the format makes sense when you look deeper at it, you've got to sell this to fans, and that's going to be hard.
To wrap this story up, MLS has already replied to the reporting, and their statement is MLS is continuing to evaluate potential adjustments to its postseason format as part of the broader review of the league's shift to a competition calendar beginning in 27-28 season. This process remains ongoing, and no determinations have been made at this time. So before we get too excited, let's see if they actually install it. But let's move on to our next story, to the USL and the American Soccer Wars. Next up here on Morning Kickaround. We've been discussing the battle for American soccer landscape, USL versus MLS Next Pro, and we have our newest and most direct soccer war battleground. USL approved the expansion of a USL League One club on Long Island, set to start in 2028, with their venue being 1 mile away from where the Island FC of MLS Next Pro wants to build their brand new stadium.
I have the map here on the screen for everybody watching at home. This is a zoomed in right there. This is basically where Hofstra is. You see Hempstead on Long Island. Yes, James M. Stewart Stadium is going to be apparently the home of the new USL League One team. That is the former home of the New York Cosmos, who obviously now exist again, put over there in New Jersey. So if you remember the best days of the Cosmos 2.0, they happened in that building, the James M. Stewart Stadium, the university, Hofstra University. That the fact that that MLS Next Pro already previously announced wants to build their stadium a mile away at the Mitchell Athletic Complex is absolutely bonkers, Rob. Just bonkers. By the way, here's how close they are. Like you can't even separate them when you zoom out a bit and get all of Long Island in the picture. You can't even separate them. That's how close they are. Um, why? Why? I'm reading about the people involved. There's a former U.S. women's national team player, Sarah Whalen Hess, involved. There is a guy who runs a big youth club on Long Island, Glenn Schneider, who's the principal owner, CEO, and founder of SUSA FC, which serves more than 5,000 players and operates Long Island's largest academy soccer club and privately owned facility. Where have I heard that story before? Right?
Yeah, that's one of the common threads of these groups going into this space. Are that's a similar story of being affiliated with a club. But I mean, if you think about it, the youth club sprouting a professional entity on the top. I mean, you could say that seems like it could be some like kind of roots in the ground already, so that this team, if it takes off, has some stability. It's building from the ground up, right? But it is provocative that it is just a mile away from where this club is trying to build a stadium, the Island FC. And you think because maybe that stadium is taking a while to get up and running, USL is seeing an opportunity to get into that kind of New York, market before the stadium gets built and try to plant their flag before the Island FC is able to do so. I mean, it's a densely populated area. There's lots of people, lots of internationals. I imagine there could be some soccer fans there. Are they trying to win the hearts and minds before this new stadium is built then?
I don't. Again, I mean, I think, obviously you have to look at it closer to understand what's happening here rather than just go, oh, why? This is insane. Is this Chattanooga Redux? Are we doing soccer wars just for the sake of soccer wars? And as I've talked about a lot, like one of the problems in professional soccer in the United States is that we do have independent businesses who, under the laws of the land, have the right to operate independently. And, I recall when St. Louis City was awarded by Major League Soccer, or when San Diego happened and the Loyal shut down, people yelling about how there's already a team there. How can they possibly just come in and drop a team on top of the team that already exists? Now they're shutting down St. Louis FC because there's a new MLS team in town. It's unfair. Now, obviously, there's crossover with the ownership group in that case. But as I said before, as I tried to explain to people, like, you can't have it both ways. If you want U.S. soccer to come in and say, no, you can't put a club there, there's already one that exists. In this case, there's nobody playing soccer yet, so it's even debatable whether a team exists. But if you want U.S. soccer to come in and protect that territory, well, then you're saying U.S. soccer has the right to restrain trade, right? The right to avoid an antitrust lawsuit, which they definitely do not. So they would be sued immediately if they did this, or risk that, right? They shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. So I think as soccer fans, it's tough to make peace with this because it feels like we're splitting the baby. It's like, can two teams survive in this limited space? And I guess it depends on what the goals are. If these two teams want to drop 5,000 each per game, is that a doable thing? I mean, as you said, densely populated area with lots of soccer people, Rob. Maybe it's doable. It feels, though, like we're shooting ourselves in the foot as American soccer, even if I can understand one side has this kind of model and one side has this kind of model. In this case, it's tied to a youth club, maybe, Glenn Schneider, right? And then the MLS Next Pro effort is now this explosion, this investment in a structure that already, I mean, that the Island FC was announced before Hometown Soccer Holdings came into being. But clearly, there's going to be a push to drop MLS Next Pro teams all over the country. We just saw the news that NYCFC's team is moving to Jersey, right? So, and I like, maybe there is a world, a timeline in which what Ronald says happens, that the NYC area rather, becomes kind of a London of America. That would be lovely. It really would. I think we're a very long way from it, but it would be lovely.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And it seems like with how many people and how many soccer interested people in New York, it seems like it would line up that there would be a dense population of teams in a densely populated cosmopolitan area. We shall see if that translates into reality. To kind of wrap this up, this USL team still needs federation approval to become a team. And then also the story in the Sports Business Journal does well to summarize that there are 10 markets are home to either existing or incoming teams in both MLS Next Pro and the USL system.
Do you think
there are plenty of battlegrounds across the country here?
I know we need to move on and our guest is waiting, but just as a last question on this, for the chat, for all the ultras, for everybody watching us this morning, and for you, Rob, from what you understand about MLS Next Pro, and again, considering the new investment from private equity and Hometown Soccer Holdings, and what you know about USL and USL League One, do you think that they're exactly in the same business?
Well, I think the ethos is different. There's the farm system model versus the independent system. So I think there's like an oil and water thing.
But that's what I mean about Hometown Soccer Holdings and this effort that MLS is putting into MLS Next Pro to, dot the map in their way. I'm not sure they're thinking of it that way. There will be obviously MLS affiliated teams like the NYCFC team that's moving to Jersey that will be feeder teams to the parent club. But if they intend to launch independent teams like the Island FC or other ones under the Hometown Soccer Holdings effort, I don't know if that's decidedly different, if that has a different character. They're going to be trying to grab the same kind of fans, right? In fact, they're going to have to kind of say, well, yeah, we have MLS reserve teams or second team, but we're also a B-side, but we're also independently here. We're independently there. We're independent. Support your hometown team. That's why it's called Hometown Soccer Holdings.
You could zoom all the way out and think about this like they're just two companies, right? And they want as many locations and expand to as many places as they can, right? The way companies do, and they're noticing that the markets are ripening in the secondary or tertiary markets, and they're both trying to expand in their own unique ways. It's like, I hate to say this, but a McDonald's Burger King thing, they're not the exact same company, but they're trying to accomplish the same thing at the end of the day.
Well,
right?
I mean, I'm thinking about Uber and Lyft, right? Like those two companies still work, they still exist. I don't know how well they're doing. I obviously I'm not checking on their stock price, to be honest with you, but they're both there, and I check both when I need to go somewhere. When I need a car, I'm checking both to see. I don't know if soccer fans are like, who's got the cheaper ticket, MLS Next Pro or USL League One? Maybe they will. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Speaking of which, I have seen some comments about some of the lower league teams and their ticket prices not like the product not matching the price tag at a couple locations. But that's a story for another day. Our guest is waiting in the wings, so I want to say thank you for all the comments. Keep them coming. If you're watching this on a replay, keep the comments going. This USL versus MLS Next Pro, a hot topic that we're going to be following, I think, for quite some time to come. So keep your comments coming. Thank you to the Marios, a Hick and Time, and the Bobs of the world for donating gift memberships. Get your dot on the map at the end of the show, and feel free, keep donating, guys. Don't leave it all up to the Marios and the Bobs of the world. Feel free to help us out, or even just hit like and subscribe. Helps us out tremendously. But let's move on. Second half of the show to come. Let's get to know the APSL up next here on Morning Kick Around. Welcome in Morning Kick Round. We're getting to know one of the leagues in the kind of yet to develop and expanding fourth tier of American soccer. We have Bill Marth with us from the APSL, the American Premier Soccer League. Good morning, sir, and how are you doing today?
Good. Doing well. How are you guys?
Doing very well. I'm sure you heard some of our discussion here, Bill, this morning. I mean, let's talk about, the third division, the pro level, the first pro level up the ladder, I guess, since we don't really have an integrated pyramid. What does it all mean anyway? Your league is not asking for a bunch of big expansion fees or any of those kind of things. Your league fills a different place in American soccer. So tell us about the APSL.
The APSL, or a nationwide league. We started in 2000, in the Northeast as the EPSL, the Eastern Premier Soccer League, as a joint partnership with some historical leagues, the Cosmopolitan Soccer League of New York and the Maryland Majors in Maryland, where some of the top teams basically spun off and created a regional league. And then within a year or two, we expanded into the New England area, Boston, Connecticut, and then Philadelphia, South Jersey. And then over the last year and a half, we've expanded into other parts of the country, including Georgia, Michigan, and Texas. And there's other places we're looking to expand over the next few months.
I'm sorry, Rob. I want to be, sometimes the best question is the simplest question. So Bill, after all that you'd explain, you started in the Eastern soccer, Eastern part of the country, Eastern Premier Soccer. Why expand? Why go national? Why grow?
Well, to be blunt, in order to compete with other national leagues, you have to have a national footprint. A national footprint gives you credibility. There's certain teams, certain players who want to play in a quote unquote national league. And also we found that there's a hunger to have our system as opposed to some other national leagues that are organized much differently. We're organized, I would call it, on the international model, which I'd be happy to explain, but we're organized
explain
much different than other leagues. One,
Okay.
we don't have any type of franchise fees. We don't have any clear territories. We're open to any team that meets the standards, and we have pro-rel agreements with local leagues, and our price point is much different. So it's really three things. One, our price point is much different than other national leagues. We charge on an average for the year, and I'll get to that. We charge on the year somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500, which is very similar to what other high-level amateur leagues charge in Europe. If you're playing in the Tercera, which is the fifth tier, the highest amateur tier in Spain, in Madrid, your yearly fees is 1,400 euros and approximately 40 some odd euros a player. That's our fee structure. Similar in Berlin, Germany, or Frankfurt. They're charging there's 14 Oberligas in Germany, the top amateur leagues. They're all charging fees somewhere between $1,000 and $27,000. It fluctuates, but it's also in that range around. I'm sorry, not thousand, hundreds. So if they're paying around $1,500 a year. So our fee is about what they charge, and this way we're open and we don't have the constant churning of teams. So that's one of the differences. The second difference is, unlike other leagues, we are a nonprofit league. We are here to build the sport. We're not here to put money in our pocket. People who work for the league get paid on what the U.S. Department of Labor says they should be paid for the work they do. There is no owner who puts money in his or her pocket, and therefore we can keep fees low. And because of that, we have pro-rel agreements with local leagues. So if you win your local league, you can get promoted into the APSL. You win the Cosmo League in New York, you get promoted into the APSL. And because our fee structure is reasonable, if you're paying, let's say, $750 in the Cosmo League, your price point isn't going to jump from $1,500 from $750, let's say, to $7,500. So we have interleague pro-rel. We're the only one who does that. We're not looking to have a second tier or a third tier. And finally, we play fall spring. We play one calendar, just like they do pretty much everywhere else in the world. We believe that builds sustainability, and it has teams that are of quality because they're playing more than a 10-week season.
And so your member clubs, we're seeing a lot of the logos on screen here. There's a number of different conferences, and you said that they're all kind of regionalized, and the top performers kind of move up the internal pro-rel scale. So these teams that you've had come into the APSL, like you mentioned, there's been rapid expansion and growth. What is it that they're seeking ultimately by coming to the APSL? You mentioned affordability and stability. Is there trying to the hunger for more to try to get closer to those lower reaches of the pro game? Is this like a branch between amateurism and the pro game, or is this just a low cost quality playing competition?
Well, right now, U.S. soccer doesn't have a fourth tier. So anyone who calls himself fourth tier it's a marketing thing. We say it in the sense that we consider ourselves the highest amateur league in the country. There is no real fourth tier right now. There is talk of having a fourth tier, but a fourth tier traditionally in Europe has certain standards that have to be met. Namely, one of the important rules is half your roster has to be under pro contract and half are amateur contracts. The so-called fourth tier leagues here don't have that. None of the leagues. We all know what the alphabet soup of leagues. So a fourth tier also, if you look in Germany, they just had their Regionalliga was the fourth tier. They're getting attendance 12,000 spectators. Look at fourth tier in England, what League Two is getting. So we don't really have fourth tier here. Fourth tier is kind of dormant. Eventually, U.S. Soccer has talked about doing some sort of fourth tier, which would be really a bridge between what we're doing or other national leagues, UPSL, NPSL, League for Clubs, what have you, and the third tier that you mentioned, MLS Next, USL League One. And that fourth tier would be really a middle ground where you'd have some pro players, some amateur players, you'd have really high field standards and you'd have TV, you'd have other things, you'd have a fan base, you'd probably have to have youth academies and a bunch of things. So that may come down the road. Right now, we fill that void because that traditional international fourth tier doesn't exist. So in that sense, we are the fourth tier, and a fair amount of our players have then gone on to MLS or other leagues, and vice versa. We have players who've played professionally who now play in our league.
It's a lot. That's a lot to process. Yeah, I know we did have somebody in the chat, Chris, asking about whether or not USSF should sanction a professional fourth tier, and you've just outlined that, so we don't need to necessarily answer that question. It's pretty obvious there. I guess one thing, Bill, for me is you mentioned the alphabet soup, and I've done some work for the UPSL. We've obviously talked a lot about the NPSL on this show, and there are some clubs who have kind of come out of that NPSL league and grown into something. And I guess it takes all kinds. And when I've talked to other people that run leagues, you've got a very low bar for entry. You want them to meet some standards, obviously. Is there an overarching league goal, or is it up to individual clubs? Hey, we want to be a place for players to play and develop and maybe go to professional leagues one day. We want to turn our club into the true local club that can get multiple thousands of people out to watch the game, want to build, quote unquote, the business of the club, not because we want to make money, but because we want soccer to last and we want to put on a product that people can be proud of. I mean, how do you kind of frame that from an APSL thinking?
Well, all of the above, so to speak. Again, when you look at what is the model amateur league, what is the model high-level amateur league, and we do have standards. You have to have an enclosed field, you have to have bleachers, you have to have team benches, you have to have restrooms, you have to have referee tables. There's a whole bunch of requirements, a physio at a match, a sub card. So there's no in and out subbing. It does meet what I would call elite competitive league standards. It's not a grassroots league. Fourth officials, matches are streamed, so a lot of those standards are met. And eventually, U.S. Soccer may again classify leagues even without a tier. They may say, okay, you're elite amateur, you're competitive amateur, you're grassroots or recreational, and there will be certain requirements to meet those. And I'm confident we will meet the highest requirements because we're gradually every year increasing standards. But what we want to have is standards that teams meet where not half the teams get exceptions to standards, because then they're meaningless, and it actually shows a disrespect for the league if the league doesn't follow its own rules. So we are moving towards eventually having changing areas in the next couple of years and meeting pretty much all the standards. As I said, you have to have bleachers, the field's got to be enclosed. So we have the high level standards. And yes, we want to meet all of that, what you mentioned.
Right.
The goal is, I've been to a lot of amateur matches in Europe. When I go more to amateur matches than professional matches, and I see that they have a crowd of I won't say thousands, but I'm going to say somewhere between 800 and 1,200 spectators at a match. That's our goal. We want to be integrated into the community, and I think a lot of other leagues do a disservice because of the constant churn of teams. You cannot be integrated in the community when your average lifespan is 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you we don't need to mention all these leagues, but there's other national leagues when you can go on the internet and find them. And if you look at how many teams they had 3 years ago and look at the percentage of teams that are left 3 years later, it's less than 50%. That does not build a fan base. It doesn't build even a community base. So what we're trying to do is, by having our price point be at a reasonable price point and a price point that most amateur leagues throughout the world follow, we don't want to have that churn of teams. We want to be reasonable with good standards, high standards, but we don't want the churn, because we don't want to just take any team anywhere for money. We want to have sustainable teams that work their way up the pyramid. So
I like it. I like it. That feels right to me, Rob.
Affordability and stability at the amateur level seems like it makes complete sense. And before we had you come on, I was speaking with Nolan from the league a little bit, and he said that APSL was kind of your brainchild. So, Bill, you're about 5 years in. Is APSL what you envisioned, or are you at least on that path to what you originally set out to create?
Well, yes, I would say, as mentioned, back in 2000, right after COVID, the teams in the Cosmo League, the better teams, some really good teams that won Lamar Hunt Cup at the pre-MLS days, like New York Greek Americans, New York Pancyprians, Lansdowne Boys, who was a top amateur team. A lot of the other teams wanted something a little more than a state league. So we, with the Cosmo League as a partner, because I am also the secretary of the Cosmopolitan League, and our league treasurer in the APSL is the president of the Cosmopolitan League, we spun off effectively the first division. And our plan was to build a very high-level amateur league in the Northeast originally. And the goal was to eventually have 4, 5, 6 high-level amateur leagues throughout the country, and that would come together for a national playoff. Unfortunately, what also happened is some of these other high-level amateur leagues never materialized throughout the country. So that was one of the reasons we decided to also expand. So in a lot of ways, yes, I mean, we now have close to 60 teams in the Northeast. We have feeder league agreements with our system in the Northeast, with our feeder leagues, as we call them, affiliates, where we have Pro-L agreements with. We probably have 250 teams in our system. The Cosmo League alone probably has around close to 90 teams. We have CASA in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Boston, the Maryland majors. So just in the Northeast, we probably have around 250 teams. We'll see how it shakes out this year. So yeah, the vision is pretty much there. We've certainly grown in the Northeast. The vision now is kind of evolved into, we don't want to just be in the Northeast. We want to be throughout the country and have that same system throughout the country, where we get eventually 1,000 teams in our system, and maybe, let's say, 250 teams in the APSL proper.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for explaining APSL and kind of the growth and development on the platform you're working on. And thank you for your time this morning, and appreciate your contributions to helping the country dot the map of the soccer landscape.
Awesome.
All right, Bill, thank you so much. I'll catch you in the fall, I imagine. The games start back up in the fall?
This is our first weekend in some regions. Depends on the weather. So in some areas, we're starting this weekend. Some we're starting later in September, where it's a little warmer. But as I said, generally, we play fall, have a short break over the winter, a little bit longer in other places, go to like mid-December, and then start up end of February again.
There you go.
All right. If there's an APSL team in your town, go check them out. Thank you so much for joining us, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, Ultras, thank you for chiming in on that conversation. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for donating memberships. We will dot the map at the end of the show, but we got another story first. A Concacaf and UEFA team up. We'll see. Stick with us here on Morning Kick Around. Welcome back in. Morning Kick Around here on a Friday. Interesting news popping up on the Guardian. UEFA, obviously Europe's governing body, and Concacaf, the governing body in our neck of the woods, have begun conversations about setting up a combined Nations League tournament featuring all 96 European and North American, Central American, and Caribbean countries in a direct challenge to FIFA. Didn't see this one coming, Jason, outside of like randos commenting on the internet, like we should do this, we should do that to combat FIFA. There's actually apparently people in suits and boardrooms actually doing this.
Did not see this coming. Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. It is mind-boggling, but I think this is the obvious, this is all because of Johnny Infantino, right? If not for Johnny trying to, split off the marketing rights and make a bunch of money off the World Cup and FIFA properties, without him trying to be dictator over FIFA and all of this stuff, we wouldn't have seen this reaction, because both UEFA initially, and obviously UEFA has long been a foil of FIFA. They are the confederation that has the other big tournament besides the World Cup, was the European Championship, and CONCACAF stepped out and said, we don't back Johnny. We're upset about, except for Mexico. Now, Mexico getting pulled in along for the ride because they're a member of CONCACAF, if this thing comes off, would be very interesting considering the support of Johnny Infantino. But yeah, man, 96 teams. Now, if you're thinking like 96 teams all in the same competition, well, no, remember, this is the Nations League. So you have League A, you have League B, but listen to these details. League A would feature the top teams in Europe, including Spain, France, England, and Germany, playing competitive league fixtures against the highest-ranked nations in CONCACAF, such as Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And fixtures would take place during international windows that have already been agreed. Now, we don't know if FIFA would have to ratify this, and you wonder if Johnny would somehow stop FIFA from saying, yes, you can do this. I mean, this is major saber rattling more than anything else.
Loud sabers.
Matt Hughes wrote this for The Guardian. I wonder, and this is not a slight of Matt Hughes, who is reporting news that he's gathered, but I wonder how much of this is leaked in order to serve as a shot across the Johnny Infantino bow.
No doubt.
You throw onto the pile here that Mexico has had initial discussions about leaving CONCACAF to join CONMEBOL because they do side with Johnny in this whole battle, and people are picking their sides. I would say selfishly, I would love this, because one of the issues we have with the U.S. men's national team, Rob, is that we don't get enough real good games because UEFA's off doing the Nations League during those windows when we used to get friendlies against European teams. CONMEBOL is obviously limited and CONMEBOL. So I'm from that selfish perspective, I'm down for this, but it's also just so indicative of the mess, the chaos. This is family drama stuff on a
international scale.
Do you watch The Bear, Rob?
I watched the first couple seasons. Yeah.
Did you watch the episode? I think it was a Christmas episode where the mom, spoiler, drives the car into the house.
No, I don't think I saw that one.
Jamie Lee Curtis plays Carmi's mom, and they're having like a dinner, like a celebration for Christmas or something, and things go crazy, and she's not mentally there, and she drives the car into the house. That's world football right now. That's what world football is right now. It's that episode of The Bear, most tension-filled episode of television I can remember watching.
So which character of The Bear is Mexico? Because they're playing every single side of this. They were like against Johnny, then they were with Johnny, then they're with CONMEBOL, and now they're in the mix with this. Mexico's playing on a bunch of different card tables right now, and definitely get excited. I don't know if there's a Bear character who is in on everything and playing every single side and every single character in that show, but this is provocative stuff. Like you said, saber rattling. The fact that someone put a comment in earlier that this is all because of the Balogun red card. It's not all because of Balogun red card, but it definitely started the public favor of Johnny going from, a hot seat to, on fire. But all of this, basically he's opened Pandora's box of what the structure of world soccer can even be. If he's willing to sell some off, then nothing is set in stone, then anything is possible, right? And if all these various different factions under his purview and all these different, other organizations are now like talking at different tables around him, then it's all a mess. And you think that do you think one singular thing like Johnny being removed will put everything back in the box now?
It's a good question. I feel like this is more of a Pandora's box situation, and it might not matter if Johnny's in charge or not. Like, if they do manage to push Johnny out, I still think everything has been upset. All the relationships have been broken. All of the norms have been thrown out the window. And I'm going to relate this back to something. And by the way, go read my newsletter, because both these things get mentioned in my newsletter. This Jason Davis Soccer Eagle, it's on Ghost. Go find it. I connected MLS and their playoff structure nonsense and changing the playoff structure and consistently changing the league and the format. The organization and the format of the league is always changing to this, in the sense that everything is broken. And it's a societal thing too, right? It's none of the norms hold anymore. Nobody has respect for tradition and history and long-standing things. We tossed it all out in college football. We have completely broken open this idea of like, oh, this is how we do things, right? This is just how we've always done it. We're going to keep doing it. And there are always things that need to be changed, of course. But when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to the way sports operate, you could very easily have been lulled into a belief that would always be the same. But there have been people, and you can point to individual people, you can point to the internet, you can point to the way we interact with one another. I don't want to get into that part of it. I don't have the doctorate for it, but I think that clearly that respect for those norms has been thrown out. And if that's the case, then everything is fair game. Every idea is on the table. And I don't know if this will happen, but despite the fact I didn't see it coming, I can't say I'm shocked either now. Like, I can't say that I was like, yeah, this is completely out of left field for the moment. It's not an idea I had conceived of, but it doesn't mean it doesn't fit what we're living. It absolutely fits what we're living in all kinds of areas of life. And the way Johnny has taken control of FIFA and made it his personal plaything, and then leveraged that, not just in terms of the Balogun red card, but in terms of the spin-off company and that attempt. Again, he was enabled. He's gone completely open with his attempts to buy. I mean, there are some allegations that he's going to deny and things like that. But again, I point this out. Think about the difference between what happened under Sepp Blatter's watch and what's happened under Johnny Infantino. Sepp Blatter was like paper bags under the table, and he might not have been involved directly, but he also wasn't telling people to stop doing it, right? Because he wanted to stay president. Once he got taken down and all that corruption became, oh, this is illegal corruption, Johnny was like, well, screw illegal corruption. We'll just do it legally. We'll just find ways to make it so that you can't really call it illegal because I'm not hiding it. I'm doing it out in the open. And that's the world we live in.
Yeah, there's no gotcha moment if you're doing it in plain view, right? But they're saying if this proposal was to go into place, they're saying it could launch as early as 2028, which would be insane. I'm not sure how far things are scheduled in the international calendar, but you feel like 2028 is pretty soon to be coordinating international fixtures and a complete revamping of an international competition. But potentially 2028, it would be adding to the existing Nations League rather than being a completely new competition, per the reporting here. But wild proposals in international soccer happening. Yeah, the deconstruction of sports as we know it continues, and it rumbles on into the Nations League, which isn't even an old competition in its own right. And like you said, a big reason why the United States doesn't play international friendlies with European competition. But we'll keep an eye on that. But it's the end of the week on a Friday, so it's time to dot the map of the MK Ultras. We've had our longtime and most generous MK Ultras, the Tulsas, the Bobs, the Hicken Times of the world donated, I think, 25 gift memberships. I think we're at our highest point of MK Ultras right now. So I think that's clangworthy that we've hit our highest height of MK Ultras. But then that means there's a lot of folks that aren't on the map yet. So if you accepted one of those gift memberships, that's good for a month of being an Ultra. Put your location, doesn't have to be exact address, a city, and the clubs you support here in the chat, or if you're already in the Discord, put it in the .TheMap thread, and we can get you in there. And I'm being corrected that we've had 30 gift donations, and I
might
saw
be a record. Might be a record
in one show
today.
since
might
the
be a
kickathon.
record. That's right, Kickathon blew the doors off, but this is on a regular show. Bob and Hicken Time and Tulsa Mario and Dwayne have combined, I believe, to set a record.
And Trix P. DeGreat, I apologize if I don't say that screen name right, but also donated some cash too. So feeling the love, feeling the generosity, but get your city location and who you support in the mix so we can dot you on the map here. Going to the Discord server thread for DotTheMap. We got at least one. We got Ninja Jaguar, and he is over in Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids. I remember that from Wednesday's show. So let's add Ninja Jaguar from the Grand Rapids Jaguars, of course. You know, the famous family, Ninja Jaguars. Okay.
Classic.
Karate Jaguar. What else would be a good one? Oh man. This seems like a rich vein that I'm not really my brain's not gonna deliver. Okay. All right. So Ninja Jaguar. What clubs we got for Ninja Jaguar?
He is a supporter of the yet to be formed GRSC, the Grand Rapids Soccer Club. They've just that's actually starting to hit mainstream news here in Michigan about the Amway Stadium being built up there. So we'll see how people get educated on MLS Next Pro as that comes online.
You mean yet to play a game? You don't mean yet to be formed, because technically that's a team. There's a organization and people are working on it. So yep. This is why I want a t-shirt that says, like, what was it? The thing I said, it was like play games, get fans, or something. I can't remember what it was.
Something to that effect.
Some people are like, whatever.
I'm being corrected. I'm wrong even on this. It's AC Grand Rapids.
You got it. You got the name of the club wrong.
They're so new. They haven't hit the field. They haven't got fans yet. So
I should have known too.
I'm still brushing up.
AC
Grand Rapids, Athletic Club of the Rapids.
Athletic Club, man. A lot of athletics they're doing up there in Grand Rapids with this soccer team, right? All those athletics that they do.
Well, there is professional volleyball, professional hockey, and there was a G League.
No, I'm saying under the umbrella of this particular organization.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you're going to try to absorb all of it.
Well, I recall, if you're an old enough MLS head, you'll remember when the Kansas City Wizards became Sporting Kansas City, and Sporting Kansas City got some heat for calling themselves Sporting, because that's a name typically given to clubs that do have multiple departments, like in Portugal or whatever. And they're like, oh, no, we're going to have a rugby team, and we're going to have a women's this and a lacrosse. We're going to do lacrosse. And then they did none of that. They did none of it. So yeah, anyway.
I'm going to have to push back here. I think this might be a false equivalency, Chad, unless you can correct me if you're in Grand Rapids, but yes, there was a great NPSL rivalry, Grand Rapids FC versus DCFC back in the NPSL days, and clubs like Midwest United try to keep that torch going. I'm not quite sure if there is a connection with the ownership group. This is the Amway folks, the DeVosses, the big money families of the west side of Michigan are creating this Amway Stadium and the Grand Rapids soccer team. And that GRFC, I'm not sure if there might be an individual, but I wouldn't put that direct link between those two teams quite as firmly.
All right. So we don't have anybody else? Just Ninja Jaguar? That's all we got?
That's surprising. This is the most limited editions in one of these segments, I think.
We are fine. I know there's a little bit of a lag here, but we got some time. If you're in the chat right now and you've either picked up a membership, thanks to the 30 gift memberships that were handed out today, or you're just not on the map for whatever reason, and you're an ultra, throw out your club in your town and throw out your information right here in the chat today. That's what this is all about. We are an interactive YouTube/podcast, whatever we are. What are we? What are we anyway? When I tell people what I do for a living, what do I say?
Are you a soccer talker?
No,
it's the official title.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not telling people that. I'm not telling people that.
You're a commentator.
I'm a commentator? Because this is what happens to me. Just to go ahead and pull back the curtain a bit. Like, I went to my kids' open house for kindergarten yesterday. And very cool. They're doing an after-school soccer program. His school is kindergarten through second grade because it's a magnet school. So they're doing a school-based soccer program. And you can just sign up, and they go straight from school out to the field. They do practice right in the afternoon when he would be at after school care anyway. And then they do games on Saturday. And he's like, this is the first time we're doing this. And like, do you want to volunteer? And I was like, I would love to volunteer. My hours don't work. I actually work in soccer. Oh, okay. What do you do?
You're a soccer
I do radio. I do radio is what I said. But I always feel like people don't really understand. They don't really connect it. They don't get it. They're like, what, like you comment, like you're a play-by-play guy? Nah, I'm not I'm a pundit. That's an English word. That's an English thing. We don't say pundits over here. You can't be an NFL pundit, are you? You're a political pundit.
On some shows, I'd say satirist sometimes with some of the topics we get into.
Mark, if that is, I do recall that you said that before, that you're on Ko-Fi, that you're not an ultra through the YouTube channel. Happily put you on the map if you would like us to put you on the map. So give me your location.
By all means, and we don't talk about that enough, but if you don't want to donate through the YouTube and the Google machine, you can go to kofi.com/morningkickaround and donate there if you so choose.
If you don't want to give any of your
by
money,
all means, we want you on
to Google. Yeah, that's exactly right. All right. I got Reese. We're going to put Reese. He is in Michigan. You guys are so thick with it.
Hey, the Mitten family. The Mitten family. Loving it.
Wait, you actually call yourself the Mitten family? Is that the thing?
Right now I am.
Oh, hold on. I gotta put the wrong thing. I gotta put Reese in here. Reese.
Yeah, see, okay, so I'll tell you this. I saw a statistic on the internet recently, so I'm sure it's definitely true that Michigan has one of the states that the population is the highest of people born there who reside there. And so there's a lot of loyalists. There's a lot of
people
loyalists
don't leave Michigan. They're like, I'm stuck here. I'm never leaving.
No, or if they leave, they come back. That's what happened to me. I was gone for many a year out in Chicago, but we come back. And so yeah, the Great Lakes area and kind of like the Louisiana area lead the way according to what I saw as far as residents living in their place of origin. But to be fair, I wasn't born here. But my point being, Michiganders are pretty loyal to each other.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know the Mitten family was a thing. Like, is that like the Michigan equivalent of Dungeon family? Because if you're like the Dungeon family, then I'm totally on board.
Dungeon family probably has some cooler tunes. I don't know. The Dayton family was pretty good, although I gotta say a slight against the Flint City Bucks. They never play any Dayton family, which I don't know if you're familiar with that rap group. I
don't know Dayton family. No, I don't know. How many families are out there? I mean, I know there's. Okay, hold on. A Dungeon family. What else? Anybody else into hip hop at all should be helping us right now. Nobody's gonna do it. Nobody's gonna know. All right.
Well, you're talking about like rap families?
Yeah, like rap families.
We're talking about rap families, hip hop collectives. There's too many to name out there.
No, with the word family in them specifically, Rob. That was the joke about Dungeon family. I don't. The Manson family. I thought a hip hop collective, but that is a family.
And I sure talk like what I'm from Michigan. Sure,
yes,
I've spent plenty of time here, and I got that chameleon thing. If I moved back to England, I'd probably.
Here's another thing about Rob that is interesting. Since you guys are talking about how he talks, he sounds like he's from Michigan. He writes like he's from England because he was using S's instead of Z's in an email yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, that's a hangover. Nothing wrong with it. It's just I was like, oh, this is English. Okay."
And then if I go to the South, some of my word selection throws people way off too. Like they think they pick up on the foreignness more so in the South than in the Midwest. So yeah, I do have a little bit of a mixture of. And I actually got a lot when I was a young kid. I got graded down on spelling simple words incorrectly. If I go because I did school back and forth, and there's many words that are spelled differently. I remember an essay in England spelling mom M-O-M instead of M-U-M. I got like 10 spelling errors wrong because of they thought I didn't know how to spell mom over there. So
by the way, it's wild to watch a show that is based in England. And I watch like Slow Horses and stuff, and like here you're like, yes, ma'am. Right. So yes, ma'am. And then they say mum. And it always throws me off. I'm like, mum? That's not your mom. Oh, they're saying ma'am. They're not saying mom.
There's some accents where they go like marm. Yes, marm.
That's very funny. Great show, Slow Horses. Watch it. It's coming out.
One of the Englishisms I love compared to here is calling a family member yes, love.
Okay.
I think that's something we should adopt more here is calling your
loved
ones yes, love.
In Spanish, particularly in Puerto Rico, I'm sure this is in other cultures too, but definitely in Puerto Rico, everybody's mi amor. Everybody's mi amor. Yes, mi amor. Like I was on the I was on the airplane flying back from San Juan on Tuesday or Wednesday rather, and one of the airline workers who I can't remember, like gate attendants, was like checking for people on the plane. So she's got her walkie talkie and she's like, 34-6. Sí, mi amor, sí, mi amor, into her walkie talkie. And I'm like, mi amor at work? Wow, this is an interesting place. Yeah.
So I'm getting so did you say we get a dot? Because we have Leandering, one of our Florida friends, asking to be moved to Wesley Chapel, Florida.
Okay, he wants to be in Wesley Chapel, Florida. Leandering. Right now, he is currently in Tampa. So you want to be moved to Wesley Chapel? Okay. So I got to. This is how I got to do this. I can't like move. I don't. Can I move his dot? There he is. I think maybe we already have one. Oh, we got one in Wesley Chapel. That's Christian in Wesley Chapel. So I guess we're gonna move. Hold on. Leandering up there as well. What's in Wesley Chapel? What's the claim to fame in Wesley Chapel? Why can't I just move this dot? There we go. There we go. Two in Wesley Chapel. Now you guys are in Wesley Chapel together. Thank you, Leandering.
Question here from Reese. Yes, I do know the Pulisic connection to the Ignition. That was
his
indoor
dad
team.
Played there. His dad played for the Ignition.
Coach and some sort of admin. And funny story is my high school graduation was in the same building as where the Ignition played.
That is a funny story. I'm laughing uproariously right now. How funny that
tearing
story
your
is.
hair out from the hilarity.
Yeah, I want to. We're going to wrap this up, but I want to address this from UHE Design. Off topic, but did you see the Georgia women's soccer team break the NCAA attendance record last night with 25,433? And by the way, that's not just the women's attendance record. It's like the overall NCAA soccer attendance record for men or women, I do believe is the case.
Yeah.
That's a great start.
Some context on that. Was that the season opener and they had a big sales around it? How did they manage to do that? That's awesome.
I got no idea, Rob. I got no idea. I saw the story.
How were they able to manage that? And in another odd American soccer note, do you know what fierce rivalry is also happening? It's USL based. Do you know what rivalry is this weekend as well?
The rivalry between USL. It is man, I should know this. I probably saw it at some point. What's on the schedule, Rob?
It's the Lippofs rivalry, the Louisville Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest.
I have heard about that. Yes, I do enjoy that name. It is nerdy and unique and over the top and perfect for an American soccer rivalry, especially at the second division level. That is great.
You seem to prefer that a lot over El Clamico, right?
I do not like El Clamico. That hits me wrong. I don't know why. I get it. I get why it's a thing. It hits me wrong. And I was one of those people who defended El Tráfico when that became a thing, because there were lots of people who were poo-pooing that idea. Because, it's so jokey and ridiculous, and it's just borrowing, making a joke out of El Clásico. And it's like, yeah, but it came from the fans. But maybe El Clásico works for that very. By the way, I had a buddy of mine who is from Rhode Island. I was reconnecting with him over text, and he asked me if I knew anything about the Kawhi Leonard connection to Rhode Island FC. And I'll admit that I'm a little behind. Have you heard about this story, Rob? You know about the Kawhi Leonard Clippers money under the table, circumventing the salary cap story?
The Rhode Island connection? Sorry.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. Yes, you do know about this.
Yes.
So I guess he's invested in a company that's invested in Rhode Island FC, and therefore, somehow Rhode Island FC is implicated in the salary cap circumvention story.
The Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast goes pretty deep in this. And essentially, apparently, Kawhi was on a journey and a quest to have some sort of ownership in pro sports. And a couple things kind of came up and fell through. But apparently, there was a connection between one of the investors at Rhode Island FC and businesses out in California. And there was some LLC that was basically a little bit of a possible fund for the Kawhi Leonard side deals, kind of ran through the construction and possibly tax money from the construction of the Rhode Island Stadium.
Okay. Well, again, these things are so wrapped up, and I know Tim is saying it's nothing. He's a very minor investor. It's not. I don't know that anybody.
They're just being very quiet about it. It's like you can be an investor, but they're being very quiet about it. Most teams that have a celebrity investor, they put them in front of the camera, or at least on
Sure,
press
I
releases.
see
But they
that.
were, until the podcast found out, they didn't know. They wasn't public.
Yeah, I think so. What is happening in the chat is this never was like who invested in Oklahoma City? Russell Westbrook. It's not
Yeah.
like Russell Westbrook. Like Russell Westbrook invests in what they name of the club again? Oklahoma City United. Is that what they name it?
I think so.
Okay.
We'll go back. It's in the video thread.
I mean, it's a new one. I know it's a Matthew Wolf design on the logo. We talked about it. Got little arrowhead points. It's great. It's not like that where they would trumpet it. There was a company that Kawhi Leonard was being paid from, maybe to circumvent the salary cap of the Clippers, that was invested in Rhode Island FC, and it's all this winding road stuff. And like, I don't know enough, and I wouldn't say. I mean, it sounds to me like Rhode Island FC didn't do anything shady. That this is all down to the Clippers and Ballmer and Kawhi and all of that. And now, I mean, the reports are after a year of investigating, the NBA is like, oh, well, actually nothing happened. That's bad. It's like, wait a second. The rules don't apply. All right, get ready for some shenanigans. But, I'm not a big NBA guy, but I know enough to be like, that doesn't sound great.
So, yeah, the side deals for Kawhi Leonard, obviously, it's like cap space and trying to pay him more. But it's so funny that he's like the least charismatic guy. So if you're like trying to pay him way more to be on your team, he doesn't do that much for you publicly. But also reminds me of the old timey soccer stuff where, they would pay them this X amount to be on the team, but they actually got, a no-show job at the lumber yard or something like that to play on the old company team and stuff like that. Like bringing in a ringer, but just at like a massive commercial scale. And a franchise level.
If you have a salary cap, you have salary cap circumvention. Those things go together. They are impossible to. They're if you have one, you got the other. I mean, you got to have a cap to have circumvention. But if there's a cap, people are trying to circumvent it, right? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, or something like along those lines is probably the way a lot of these people think about this. And honestly, if I had time, we'd talk about how MLS teams have tried to circumvent the cap or have and I'm not even talking about Inter Miami, who's got in trouble for it fairly recently. I'm talking about going back to the original days when players were getting free cars and various other things to supplement their salaries under the then very restrictive MLS salary cap in the early days of the league. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you see that sort of thing on all the leagues and old college, recruiting. People we're getting all sorts of funny deals and stuff like that. But we've gone off topic. Our show has run its course here for Friday. Thank you for all of your donations. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments, and keep them coming if you're watching this on replay or if you're listening in the podcast format. Thank you so much. We will be back on Monday. So until then, enjoy your soccer.